Shipyard director Dong-Ho Lee walked through the construction bay like a man surveying his kingdom. Around him, the skeleton of a new battle cruiser stretched into the darkness. Sparks flew from welding torches as workers attached armor plating to the ship's frame. "How thick is that armor?" asked his assistant, young Mi-Han. She was an engineer, fresh from the academy with bright eyes and endless curiosity. 30 centimeters of hardened steel, backed by ceramic composites, Dong-Ho replied. He was a big man in his 50s, with hands scarred from decades of working with metal and machinery. "The aliens think it's too heavy. Makes the ship slow and clumsy. And what do you think?" Dong-Ho smiled. "I think dead ships are a lot slower than live ones." They walked past workers installing what looked like pipes and cables throughout the ship's interior. Young Mi had studied alien ship designs in school, and she knew this was different. "Why so many backup systems?" she asked. "Because the first system might break," Dong-Ho said simply. "Or the second. Or the third. But the fourth one better work because that's the one that gets you home." Young Mai looked at the schematics on her tablet. Every critical system had multiple backups. Power, life support, weapons, engines, everything had redundancy built in. "The Valith ships only have single systems," she noted. "That's because they're idiots," Dong-Ho said bluntly. "Pretty idiots with beautiful ships, but idiots all the same." News arrived that morning from the Battle of New Kyoto. Captain Jae-Sung Kang's ship had taken a beating that should have destroyed it, but somehow limped home with most of its crew intact. "Get me the damage report," Dong-Ho ordered. The holographic display showed the UES Daegu's Vengeance as she had appeared after the battle. The ship was a wreck. Whole sections of her hull were gone. Her main engines were destroyed. 2/3 of her weapon turrets had been blown away. "She should be dead," Young Mi whispered. "But she's not," Dong-Ho pointed out. "And neither is her crew. You want to know why?" He pulled up the ship's internal schematics. Even with massive damage, backup systems were still running. Emergency bulkheads had sealed off the destroyed sections. Secondary power lines kept essential systems online. Captain Kang's report says they lost main power 3 times during the battle. Dong-Ho continued. Each time backup systems came online within seconds. They lost their primary bridge, so they switched to the auxiliary command center. When that was damaged, they ran the ship from engineering. How many crew did they lose? 43 out of 400. On any other ship in the galaxy, it would have been all 400. Young Mi studied the design more carefully. She began to understand what she was looking at. Human ships weren't just built to fight. They were built to survive fighting. "The aliens build their ships like swords," she said slowly. "Beautiful, sharp, perfect for a clean fight. And we build ours like hammers," Dong-Ho agreed. "Ugly, heavy, designed to keep working even when everything goes wrong." Captain Jae-Sung Kang stood on the bridge of his battered ship and watched the repair crews work. The Daegu's Vengeance looked like she had been through a meat grinder, but she was still flying. Still fighting. His communications officer, Lieutenant Hai-Jin Park, looked up from her station. "Sir, we're getting a transmission from the Zephyrian fleet commander." "Put him on screen." The Zephyrian's face appeared. He was tall and elegant, with silver skin that seemed to glow. But his eyes were wide with something that looked like fear. "Human captain," the alien said, "your ship should be destroyed. My sensors show massive structural damage. How are you still operational?" Jae-Sung considered his answer. He was a quiet man, thoughtful and careful with words. His ship's bridge was scarred and blackened, with emergency lights casting strange shadows. "Good engineering," he said finally. "Impossible. No ship can survive that level of damage." Jae-Sung gestured around his ruined bridge. "This ship can." And she has. The transmission cut out. Later, long-range sensors would show the Zephyrian fleet withdrawing from the new Kyoto system. They had won the battle, technically, but watching a human ship refuse to die had shaken them badly. On the moon of Luna, Dr. Woo-Jin Park sat in a meeting room with the heads of human fleet engineering. The table was covered with battle reports, damage assessments, and alien ship specifications. "The galaxy is starting to notice us," said Chief Engineer Si-Jin Oh. She was small and intense, with grease-stained fingers and sharp eyes. "Our survival rates are making them nervous." "Good," Woo-Jin replied. "Maybe now they'll take us seriously. The question is, why are our ships so much tougher?" asked another engineer. "It's not just the armor. Alien ships have armor too." Woo-Jin pulled up a comparison chart. On one side was a human destroyer. On the other was a Zephyrian cruiser of similar size. "Look at the internal structure," he said. "The Zephyrian ship has large open spaces, elegant corridors. Everything is designed for efficiency and beauty. And ours? Compartmentalized. Every section can be sealed off. Every corridor has blast doors. Every room has its own life support backup." Si-Jin nodded slowly. "So when they take damage, it spreads through the whole ship. One lucky hit can disable multiple systems. But when we take damage, it's contained. The damage stays local while the rest of the ship keeps working." Another engineer raised his hand. "But that makes our ships heavier. Less efficient, so?" Woo-Jin asked. "What good is efficiency if you're dead?" Fleet Admiral Soo-Young Park stood before the Galactic Council via quantum transmission. She was a small woman with steel-gray hair and eyes like winter ice. Behind her, the logos of the Earth Fleet were clearly visible. "Honored representatives," she said calmly, "you have asked for an explanation of recent human military successes." High Counselor Vexitar's luminous form shifted with what might have been nervousness. "Your vessels appear to possess capabilities that our initial assessments did not reveal." "Our vessels possess exactly the capabilities we told you about 6 months ago," Soo-Young replied. "You simply chose not to listen." "But your technology is primitive," protested a Corvin delegate. "Kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, metal armor plating." "Yes," Soo-Young agreed. "And it works. But how?" "Our computer models show that your ship should be inferior in every way." Soo-Young smiled. It was not a warm smile. "Your computer models assume that all ships are built for the same purpose. They are not." She activated a holographic display showing a Valeth cruiser and a human destroyer side by side. "Your ships are built for perfection. Every system is optimized for maximum efficiency. Every component is precisely calibrated. In perfect conditions against an equal opponent, they are magnificent." "And your ships?" Vextar asked. "Our ships are built for imperfection, for chaos, for the moment when everything goes wrong and you're still expected to complete the mission." The hologram zoomed in on the human ship's interior. Pipes, cables, and backup systems ran through every section like the roots of a tree. "We assume things will break," Soo-Young continued. "We assume we'll take damage. We assume the enemy will be stronger, faster, or smarter than we are. So we build accordingly." "You build for failure?" asked a Thimari representative, confusion clear in its translated voice. "We build to survive failure," Soo-Young corrected. "There's a difference." The council chamber was quiet for a long moment. These beings had ruled the galaxy for centuries. Their technology was advanced beyond human understanding. Their ships were works of art that could dance between stars, but they were learning that sometimes ugly and tough beat beautiful and fragile. Captain Hyun-Woo Park received the transmission while his ship was docked at a human starbase for repairs. The Soul's Pride had been in 3 major battles since the war began, and she showed it. Her hull was patched with metal plates of different colors. Her weapon turrets were mismatched replacements. She looked like a ship held together with spare parts and determination, which, he reflected, she basically was. "Captain," said the message from Fleet Command, "you're invited to address the Galactic Council regarding human ship design philosophy." Hyun-Woo almost laughed. The same beings who had mocked his ship 6 months ago now wanted to learn from her. "Sir?" asked Bora Kim from the communication station. "Are you going to accept?" Hyun-Woo looked around his patched and repaired bridge. His crew was tired but unbroken. His ship was ugly but functional. They had survived everything the galaxy had thrown at them. "Yes," he said finally. "I think it's time they understood something." "What's that, sir?" "Pretty ships are for pretty wars. And this war stopped being pretty the moment they started shooting at our colonies. Throughout human space, the shipyards worked around the clock. New vessels took shape in the construction bays. Still ugly, still practical, still tough. Workers welded armor plating and installed redundant systems with the patience of craftsmen who knew their work might save lives. The galaxy had laughed at these ships once, called them primitive and crude. Now they watched with growing respect as battle after battle proved that sometimes the best technology was the kind that simply refused to quit. In the darkness between stars, human ships patrolled the frontier. Their hulls were scarred, their systems were patched, and their crews were tired. But they were still there. Still flying, still fighting. Captain Hyun-Woo Park stared out at the massive space station ahead of them. Nexus Prime looked like a crystal flower floating in the darkness of space. Thousands of alien ships surrounded it, each one more beautiful than the last. Some looked like they were made of pure light. Others moved like living creatures through the void. "Sir, we're getting some strange looks," said Communications Officer Bo-Ra Kim from her station. She was young, maybe 25, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her fingers danced over the control panel as she monitored the alien radio chatter. "What kind of looks?" Hyunwoo asked. He was a big man, broad-shouldered and calm. His gray hair was cut short in military style. After 30 years in space, very little surprised him anymore. "The kind you get when you show up to a fancy party wearing work clothes," Bo-Ra replied. She tried to keep her voice light, but he could hear the tension underneath. Hyunwoo looked at his ship's reflection in the station's metal surface. The UES Soul's Pride was not pretty. Her hull was gray metal with visible weld marks where repairs had been made. Steam came from cooling vents along her sides. Cargo containers were bolted to her exterior like metal boxes. She looked exactly like what she was, a working ship built to do a job. Around them, the alien vessels glowed and sparkled. The Valith ships looked like they were made of colored glass that bent light around them. The Corvin vessels pulsed with organic patterns as if they were alive. The massive Thamari dreadnoughts were the size of cities, covered in weapon turrets that gleamed like jewels. "Engineering report," Hyunwoo called out. "All systems green, Captain," came the reply from Engineer Ji-hoon Kim. He was down in the engine room, probably with grease on his hands and oil stains on his coveralls. Ji-hoon was small and thin, but he could make any machine work. "She's not much to look at, but she runs smooth as silk." "That's all that matters," Hyunwoo said. The space station's traffic control gave them permission to dock. As they moved closer, Hyunwoo could see alien ships pulling away from their docking area. It was like they didn't want to be seen next to the human vessel. Ambassador Soo-jin Lee came onto the bridge. She was dressed in her best diplomatic uniform, but even that looked plain compared to what they had seen the aliens wearing. Soo-jin was in her 40s with kind eyes and a patient smile. She had spent years learning alien languages and customs. "The Galactic Council is ready to see us," she said. "Are you sure you want to come along, Captain?" "Wouldn't miss it," Hyunwoo replied. "Besides, they asked to see our military representative." "They did," Soo-jin agreed, "though I'm not sure they'll be impressed." The docking bay was huge. Their ship looked tiny next to some of the alien vessels. Crew members from different worlds walked around in environmental suits or breathing apparatus. Some floated in tanks of liquid. Others glowed with their own inner light. As they walked through the station corridors, Hyunwoo noticed how the aliens stared at them. Not with curiosity or welcome, but with something that looked like amusement. He heard Bo-Ra muttering translations under her breath. "What are they saying?" he asked quietly. "Nothing polite," she replied. "The Vela think we're some kind of joke. The Corvin are wondering if we're actually a primitive species. The Thamari are, well, they're laughing." The council chamber was enormous. Representatives from dozens of worlds sat in floating chairs or specialized environments. At the center was High Counselor Vextar of the Valith Empire. His body was made of something that looked like liquid starlight. When he moved, colors flowed across his surface. "Humans of Earth." Vextar's voice echoed through translation devices. "You have requested membership in the Galactic Defense Coalition. Please present your military capabilities for evaluation." Soo-jin stepped forward. "Honored Counselor, we offer our fleet and our people in service to galactic peace. Our ships may appear simple, but they are reliable and effective." Holographic displays showed images of human warships. Each one looked like the Soul's Pride, blocky, practical, and unimpressive. The alien representatives began to whisper among themselves. Some of the sounds they made were clearly laughter. A Corvin delegate spoke up. Its voice was like wind through leaves. "These vessels appear to be cargo ships? Are you certain they are military craft?" "They are warships," Hyunwoo said, stepping forward. "Built for combat operations." More laughter filled the chamber. A Thamari admiral, massive and armored, gestured at the holographic displays. "Where are your energy shields? Your plasma cannons? Your quantum manipulators?" "We use kinetic weapons and armor plating," Hyunwoo replied calmly. The laughter got louder. Vextar raised a glowing appendage for silence. "Kinetic weapons? Do you mean projectiles, physical ammunition, missiles, railguns, and ballistic cannons?" Hyunwoo confirmed. The chamber erupted in what could only be called hilarity. Delegates from across the galaxy found this incredibly amusing. One small creature that looked like a floating jellyfish was laughing so hard it changed colors. "Honored humans," Vextar said when the laughter died down. "Your enthusiasm isn't charming, however. Such primitive technology has no place in modern warfare. Perhaps you should focus on trade and exploration rather than military matters." Su Jin's face remained calm, but Hyunwoo could see her hands clench slightly. "With respect, Counselor, our technology may appear simple, but it is proven and effective." "Against what?" asked a crystal-like being from the far side of the chamber. "Space pirates using chemical rockets." More laughter. Hyunwoo felt his crew tense up behind him. Bora was translating the worst of the comments in real time. Most of them were comparing human ships to museum pieces or children's toys. "We understand your decision," Sujin said finally. "We thank the Council for their time." As they prepared to leave, Vextar spoke again. "Perhaps in a few hundred years, when your species has developed proper technology, you may apply again. We wish you luck in your evolution." The walk back to their ship was quiet. Alien crew members pointed and whispered as they passed. Some held up recording devices, as if the humans were some kind of curiosity to show their friends back home. Back on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, the crew worked in silence. Ji-hoon came up from engineering, wiping his hands on a rag. His wife Bora was still at her communication station, her face dark with anger. "So that went well," Ji-hoon said sarcastically. "They think we're a joke," Bora added. "Some of the things they said, I won't repeat them." Sujin sat heavily in the observer's chair. "I've spent years studying their cultures, learning their languages, trying to find common ground. And they dismiss us like we're children playing with toy rockets." Hyunwoo stood at the viewport looking out at the alien ships. Each one was a masterpiece of advanced technology. They moved like dancers, graceful and precise. "Energy fields flickered around them like halos, Captain?" Bora asked. "Orders?" Hyunwoo was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was calm and steady. "Set course for home, and send a message to Fleet Command." "What message, sir?" "Tell them the galaxy isn't ready for us yet." He paused, watching an elegant Valith cruiser glide past their viewport. "But they will be." As the Soul's Pride undocked from the station, none of the aliens paid attention to their departure. They were too busy admiring each other's beautiful ships and discussing how amusing the primitive humans had been. If they had been paying attention, they might have noticed something interesting about the human vessel. Despite being ugly and basic, it moved with perfect precision. Its engines ran without even a vibration. Every system worked exactly as designed, but they weren't paying attention. They were laughing. The Soul's Pride jumped to hyperspace, carrying its crew and their wounded pride back toward human space. Behind them, the galaxy continued to laugh at the species with the ugly ships and primitive weapons. They wouldn't be laughing much longer. Operation Prometheus began at dawn on Earth, though in space there was no real dawn. General Kyung-Soo Yoon stood in the command center deep beneath the Himalayas, watching displays that showed human fleets moving toward Zephyrian space. "All task forces report ready," said his aide, Colonel Minji Song. She was young for her rank, but the war had promoted many young officers quickly. "The Zephyrians won't know what hit them," Kyung-Soo nodded. He was a career soldier, 50 years old with scars from a dozen campaigns. But this was different. This wasn't just about winning battles anymore. This was about sending a message to the entire galaxy. "Signal all commands," he ordered. "Operation Prometheus is a go." Fleet Admiral Yoon Ji-cho watched from the bridge of the UES Incheon's Fury as the largest human fleet ever assembled jumped to hyperspace. 200 ships, every one of them scarred from previous battles. Every one of them crewed by people who had lost friends and family to Zephyrian attacks. "Ma'am," said her tactical officer, "long-range sensors show the Zephyrian home fleet moving to intercept." "How many ships?" 150. "Their newest and best?" Yoonji smiled coldly. "Good. I want them all in one place." Captain Hyunwoo Park stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride and felt the familiar vibration as his ship dropped out of hyperspace. Around him, the human fleet spread out in battle formation. Ahead of them lay the Zephyrian stronghold world of Velkara. The planet was beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, elegant cities that spiraled into the sky like works of art. Orbital platforms surrounded it like jewels, connected by streams of light that looked like silver threads. "Sir," said Bora Kim from her station. The Zephyrian fleet is launching from the orbital yards. Hyunwoo watched the enemy ships emerge from their berths. Each one was a masterpiece of engineering and design. They moved through space like dancers, their hulls gleaming with perfect polish. They're still beautiful, he admitted. Yes, sir, Bora agreed. But beauty doesn't stop missiles. The Zephyrian fleet commander opened communications. His face appeared on the main screen, tall, elegant, with silver skin that seemed to glow with inner light. When he spoke, his voice was musical but strained. Human barbarians, he said. You dare bring your primitive vessels to the heart of our empire? We dare, Hyunwoo replied simply. You will be destroyed. Our ships are the finest in the galaxy. We know. We've been destroying them for months now. The Zephyrians' perfect features twisted with anger. Impossible. You are nothing but savages with crude weapons. Hyunwoo considered this. Around him, his bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. These people had lost homes, families, friends to Zephyrian attacks. They had every right to hate, but mostly they just looked tired. You're right, he said finally. We are crude. Our weapons are simple. Our ships are ugly. But there's one thing you don't understand about us. What is that? We're very good at breaking things. Chief Engineer Si Jin-oh had turned human pragmatism into an art form. In the months since the war began, she had performed miracles of improvisation that would have been impossible with more advanced alien technology. Her latest creation was a perfect example. She had taken a civilian cargo hauler and welded missile pods to its hull. The ship looked like a floating junkyard, but it could launch more missiles than a regular destroyer. Will it work? Asked her assistant, watching workers make final adjustments to the improvised warship. It'll work once, Se-jin replied. Maybe twice if we're lucky. After that, the stress will probably tear it apart. And the crew? They volunteered. They know the risks. Across human space, similar modifications were taking place. Mining ships became assault craft with cutting lasers repurposed as weapons. Passenger liners were converted to troop transports. Even research vessels were armed with whatever weapons could be bolted to their hulls. The aliens would have called it crude, wasteful, inelegant. The humans called it winning. The Battle of Velkara began with the Zephyrians doing exactly what they always did, spreading out in perfect formation, using their speed and maneuverability to maximum advantage. Their ships moved like a ballet, each one precisely where it needed to be. The human fleet responded by doing exactly what it always did, forming up in a solid wall of steel and advancing straight at the enemy. No fancy maneuvers, no elegant tactics. Just simple, straightforward violence applied with industrial efficiency. All ships, Admiral Cho's voice came over the comm, weapons free. Show them what human engineering can do. The space between the fleets filled with fire and metal. Zephyrian energy weapons lanced out in perfect, precise beams. Human missiles streaked through the darkness in chaotic swarms, followed by railgun projectiles moving too fast to see. The difference in style was obvious. The Zephyrians fought like artists, each shot carefully placed for maximum effect. The humans fought like factory workers, mass-producing destruction with mechanical efficiency. Commander Tae-bok Kim piloted his improvised missile ship directly into the heart of the Zephyrian formation. His vessel, the former cargo hauler Lucky Dragon, was ugly even by human standards. Missile pods stuck out from her hull at random angles. Her original cargo bays had been filled with ammunition. Target lock on the flagship, reported his weapons officer. Fire everything, Tae-bok ordered. The Lucky Dragon unleashed every missile she carried in 30 seconds. Hundreds of warheads streaked toward the beautiful Zephyrian flagship, overwhelming its point defense systems through sheer numbers. The flagship's elegant hull cracked like an eggshell. Secondary explosions rippled through its perfect proportions. Within minutes, the pride of the Zephyrian fleet was a spreading cloud of debris. "Sir?" called the weapons officer. "The ship is breaking apart. The stress from launching all those missiles." "I know," Tae-bok replied calmly. "Emergency evacuation. All hands to the escape pods." The Lucky Dragon tore herself apart from the forces she had unleashed, but her crew survived to be picked up by other human ships. In human tactical doctrine, that was considered a successful mission. The Zephyrian fleet commander watched his beautiful ships being systematically destroyed by ugly human ones. His perfect formation was breaking apart under waves of crude but effective firepower. "How?" he transmitted to the human fleet. "Your technology is centuries behind ours. How are you winning?" Fleet Admiral Cho's face appeared on his screen. She was small and gray-haired, with tired eyes and a grim expression. "Because you build your ships to be perfect," she said, "and we build ours to be good enough." "What does that mean?" "It means when one of our systems fails, we have 3 more that can do the job. When one of your systems fails, your whole ship stops working." "But the efficiency losses." "Don't matter if you're dead," Cho replied, and cut the transmission. The battle continued for 18 hours. By human standards, it was a grinding slugfest with no elegance or artistry. By Zephyrian standards, it was a nightmare of crude violence that refused to follow any civilized rules of warfare. When it was over, the Zephyrian home fleet had been destroyed. 60% of their ships were gone, with the rest too damaged to continue fighting. The human fleet had taken heavy losses too, but enough ships remained operational to land troops on Velkara. Captain Hyunwoo Park watched from his bridge as human landing craft descended toward the beautiful planet. The Soul's Pride looked worse than ever. Her hull was scorched black in places, several weapon turrets were destroyed, and she was venting atmosphere from a dozen small holes, but she was still flying. Still fighting. Still doing her job. "Sir," said Bo-Ra Kim. "Transmission from the planetary surface. The Zephyrian government is requesting terms for surrender." Hyunwoo was quiet for a moment. He thought about New Sol Colony, burning under Zephyrian attack. He thought about the 2 million civilians who had died there. He thought about all the human worlds that had been devastated by Zephyrian raids. "Tell them," he said finally, "that we'll discuss terms when they understand the difference between strength and beauty." "Sir?" "Tell them that ugly ships crewed by crude humans just conquered the heart of their empire. Tell them to think about what that means." Across the galaxy, long-range sensors recorded the fall of Velkara. The news spread through diplomatic channels and intelligence networks. The humans, the primitive species with the ugly ships and simple weapons, had just defeated one of the most advanced civilizations in known space. In the council chambers of 100 worlds, military advisors updated their assessments of human capabilities. The laughter that had once greeted human ships was replaced by careful calculation and growing concern. The species that built hammers instead of swords was proving that sometimes crude and effective beat elegant and fragile, and that was a lesson that was making a lot of people very nervous indeed. General Kyung Soo-yoon stood in his command bunker, watching reports from across Zephyrian space. Human forces were advancing on multiple fronts, their ugly ships grinding forward like an industrial machine. "Sir," said his aide, "intelligence reports that several alien governments are requesting emergency meetings. They want to discuss the human situation." Kyung-soo almost smiled. "The human situation?" "Yes, sir. Apparently we've become a problem they need to solve." "Good," Kyung-soo replied. "Maybe now they'll pay attention when we talk." The galaxy had laughed at human vessels. The Galactic Council chamber was silent when Ambassador Soo-jin Lee entered. The same hall that had once echoed with laughter at human ships now held only the quiet tension of beings who had learned to be afraid. She walked down the center aisle with calm dignity, her simple diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the elaborate costumes worn by the alien representatives. Behind her walked Admiral Hyunwoo Park, his military dress uniform neat but unadorned. High Counselor Vextar's luminous form had dimmed since their last meeting. When he spoke, his musical voice carried notes of uncertainty that had not been there a year ago. "Honored humans," he began, "the Galactic Council welcomes you back to these chambers." Soo-jin took her place at the speaker's podium. Around the vast circular chamber, representatives from dozens of worlds watched her with expressions ranging from curiosity to fear to barely hidden respect. "Thank you, Counselor," she said simply. "We appreciate the invitation. The Council has been studying the recent conflict between humanity and the Zephyrian hegemony." Vextar continued carefully. "Your military performance has been unexpected." "Unexpected?" Soo-jin asked. "Or impressive?" A ripple of whispers ran through the chamber. The same beings who had laughed at human presumption now shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "The Zephyrian surrender has raised questions about human capabilities," said a Corvan delegate, its voice like wind through leaves. "Your technology appeared primitive during your initial presentation." "Our technology hasn't changed," Admiral Park said, stepping forward. "Your understanding of it has. Explain." demanded a massive Themari. Representative Park activated a holographic display showing the UES Soul's, pride. The ship looked exactly as it had a year ago, blocky, practical, covered in scars from battle. But now instead of laughter, the sight brought respectful silence. You judged our ships by their appearance, he said. You assumed that because they weren't beautiful, they weren't effective. But your weapons are primitive, protested a crystal-like being from the Outer Rim territories. Kinetic projectiles. Chemical explosives. Yes, Park agreed. And they work. Dr. Woo-Jin Park took the podium next. His civilian clothes looked shabby compared to the military uniforms and diplomatic robes around him. But his words carried the weight of hard experience. You build ships like works of art, he said. Every line perfect, every system optimized for maximum efficiency. In ideal conditions, they are magnificent. He gestured to the holographic display, which now showed a comparison between human and alien vessel designs. We build ships like tools, he continued. Ugly, heavy, over-engineered. We assume everything will go wrong, so we plan for it. But the inefficiency, began a Valith engineer. What inefficiency? Woo-Jin asked. Our ships are still fighting while yours are floating debris. Which design is more efficient? The chamber fell quiet. These beings had ruled the galaxy for millennia through superior technology and elegant thinking. But elegant thinking didn't stop missiles, and superior technology was useless if it broke under stress. Captain Minna Song entered the chamber carrying a datapad. Her dress uniform was simple and practical, like everything else about human military culture. She'd been invited to present the tactical analysis of human victories. The Council has asked for an explanation of human success against superior alien technology, she said. The answer is simple. We don't try to win pretty. She activated another display showing battle footage from Kepler 442, New Kyoto, and Velkara. The images were not elegant. Human ships absorbed punishment that would have destroyed any other vessels, then kept fighting with grim determination. Your fleets fight like they're in a dance, she continued. Perfect formations, graceful maneuvers, elegant tactics. And yours? Asked the Corvin delegate. Like we're in a bar fight. No rules, no elegance, just whatever it takes to win. High Counselor Vextar's form flickered with what might have been distress. Surely there must be more to it than simple brutality. Admiral Park stepped forward again. There is preparation. Preparation? Every human ship carries supplies for 6 months independent operation. Every crew member is cross-trained for multiple positions. Every system has manual backups. When your beautiful ships break down, they stop fighting. When our ugly ships break down, we fix them with spare parts and keep going. Chief Engineer Si-Jin. Oh entered the chamber at that moment, carrying a toolkit that looked ancient compared to the advanced technology around her. Her coveralls were stained with oil and her hands were rough from years of manual work. You want to know the real secret? She asked, approaching the podium. We fix our own ships. The alien representatives looked confused. Si-Jin smiled and opened her toolkit, revealing simple tools that any human mechanic would recognize. Your ships are so advanced that only specialized technicians can repair them, she said. Our ships are designed so that any crew member with basic training can keep them running. But that limits your technological advancement, protested a Themari engineer. Does it? Si-Jin asked. My ship is still flying after taking damage that would have vaporized yours. Which technology is more advanced? The one that breaks easily or the one that keeps working no matter what? Ambassador Su-Jin Lee returned to the podium. The chamber was completely silent now, the weight of understanding settling over the assembled delegates. A year ago you laughed at our ships, she said quietly. You called them primitive, crude, unworthy of your alliance. The Council may have been hasty in its initial assessment, Vextar admitted. You were, Su-Jin agreed, but not because our ships were better than you thought. Because your definition of better was wrong. Explain. You define quality as perfection. We define it as durability. You build ships that work perfectly under ideal conditions. We build ships that work adequately under any conditions. And in war, began a Corvin representative. Conditions are never ideal, Admiral Park finished. War is chaos, confusion, and things going wrong at the worst possible moment. Our ships are designed for that reality. The Council voted that day to formally invite humanity into the Galactic Defense Coalition. not as junior members or probationary allies, but as full partners with leadership authority. The same beings who had once dismissed human ships as cargo haulers now begged for human protection. But the humans had learned something too. As they prepared to leave the station, Su-Jin looked back at the elegant alien vessels docked around them. Beautiful ships filled with advanced technology and sophisticated systems. "Do you think they'll learn?" she asked Admiral Park. "Some will," he replied. "The smart ones will start building their ships differently, adding backup systems, redundant components, manual overrides, and the others will keep building beautiful ships that break when you look at them wrong." Captain Hyunwoo Park stood on the bridge of the Souls, pride as she prepared to depart Nexus Prime. His ship looked exactly the same as she had a year ago, scarred, patched, held together with determination and spare parts, but everything else had changed. "Sir," said Bo-Ra Kim from her communication station, "we're receiving requests from 17 different species. They want technical advisors to help redesign their fleets. And Command says to send them to the engineering schools on Luna. Let them learn how to build ships that work instead of ships that look good." The Soul's pride jumped to hyperspace, carrying her crew home to human space. Around the galaxy, the lesson was spreading through military academies and design bureaus. Elegant and fragile was beautiful, but ugly and tough was effective. Director Dong-Ho Lee stood in his shipyard, watching construction of the newest human vessels. They looked exactly like the old ones, blocky, practical, built to last. But now they carried an additional honor. They were the ships that had taught the galaxy the difference between beauty and strength. Young engineer Young Mai, Han brought him reports from alien governments requesting copies of human ship designs. Most wanted to buy the plans outright. Others offered technology trades that would have made Earth wealthy beyond imagination. "What should we tell them?" she asked. "That they can buy the plans," Dong-Ho replied, "but they can't buy the philosophy that created them." "Which is?" "That pretty is nice, but functional is better. That perfect is the enemy of good enough. That sometimes ugly and reliable beats beautiful and fragile." He gestured at the ships taking shape in his yards. Each one looked like a flying toolbox, ungainly and crude. But they would keep flying when elegant ships were debris, and their crews would come home when others didn't. "Will the aliens understand?" Young Mai asked. "The smart ones will. The others will keep building pretty ships that break in the first real fight." Across human space, the shipyards worked at full capacity. New vessels took shape under the careful hands of engineers who understood that war wasn't a dance or an art form. It was a job that needed doing, and the best tool for any job was the one that worked when everything else failed. The galaxy had laughed at human vessels. They had called them primitive, crude, unworthy of serious consideration. But when the shooting started, those ugly ships had proven something important. In the cold mathematics of survival, functional beat beautiful every time. Durable beat elegant, and tough beat pretty so thoroughly that it wasn't even close. The attack came without warning. Admiral Tae-Young Cho was drinking coffee in his quarters when the alarm sounded. The UES Busan's hammer shook as it dropped out of hyperspace, responding to the emergency signal from New Sol Colony. "Report," he barked as he ran onto the bridge. Tae-Young was a veteran of 40 years in the fleet. His face was lined with age and experience, and his eyes were sharp as a blade. "Zephyrian ships, sir," reported his communications officer. 3 battle groups. They hit New Sol an hour ago. On the main screen, the colony world burned. Smoke rose from what had been cities. Orbital stations were twisted metal floating in space. The elegant Zephyrian warships moved through the debris like sharks through water. "How many civilians?" Tae-Young asked quietly. 2 million lived on New Sol, sir." The bridge fell silent. 2 million people. Men, women, children, gone in an hour. "Sir, we're getting reports from across the border," said Lieutenant Min-Ah Song from the tactical station. She was young but experienced, with steady hands and a cool head. "Zephyrian forces are attacking human settlements all along the frontier." Tae-Young studied the tactical display. Red markers showed Zephyrian ships. Blue markers showed human forces. There were a lot more red than blue. "They're moving fast," he said. "Hit-and-run tactics. Strike the colonies and move on before we can respond." "Sir, incoming transmission from Fleet Command," called the communications officer. Admiral Park's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired and angry. "Tae-Young, how many ships do you have?" 12, sir. Mixed cruisers and destroyers. The Zephyrians have committed 60 ships to this offensive. Their newest and best. Tae-young felt his stomach sink. 5-to-1 odds and the enemy had better technology. On paper, it was hopeless. Orders, sir? Stop them, Admiral Park said simply. Buy time for the colonies to evacuate. Make them pay for every system they take. The transmission ended. Tae-young looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. Young and old, they all wore the same expression. They knew the odds. They knew what they were being asked to do. Set course for the Kepler 442 system, he ordered. That's where they'll hit next. Captain Min-ah Song commanded the destroyer squadron that reached Kepler 442 first. Her ship, the UES Mokpo's Thunder, was typical of human naval construction. Thick armor plating covered a rectangular hull. Weapon turrets stuck out at odd angles. Steam vented from cooling systems along the sides. Her squadron consisted of 5 destroyers, each one as ugly and practical as the next. Compared to the sleek Zephyrian ships approaching the system, they looked like flying toolboxes. Zephyrian battle group entering sensor range, reported her tactical officer. 12 ships. Cruiser class. Min-ah studied the display. The enemy ships were beautiful. Their hulls curved like sword blades. Energy fields shimmered around them like silk scarves in the wind. They moved with perfect grace through space. They're fast, she noted. Probably twice our speed. And their weapons? Asked her weapons officer. Energy-based. Plasma cannons and particle beams. Very advanced. The Zephyrian commander opened communications. His face appeared on the screen. Tall, elegant, with silver skin that gleamed like metal. When he spoke, his voice was musical. Human vessels, you are outmatched. Surrender now and we will make your deaths quick. Min-ah looked at him for a moment. Then she smiled. It was not a nice smile. This is Captain Song of the Earth Navy. I have a counteroffer. Leave our space now and we might let some of you go home. The Zephyrian's expression changed from amusement to anger. You dare mock me? Your primitive ships are no match for Zephyrian technology. Let's find out, Min-ah replied and cut the transmission. The battle began with the Zephyrians doing exactly what everyone expected. Their ships spread out in a perfect formation, using their speed advantage to circle the human squadron. Bright beams of energy lanced out from their weapons, striking the human ships. The beams hit the thick armor of the human destroyers and scattered like water hitting a rock. Scorch marks appeared on the hull plating, but no real damage. Their weapons aren't penetrating our armor, reported the tactical officer with surprise. Good, Min-ah said. Return fire. All ships concentrate fire on the lead cruiser. The human ships turned toward the enemy like a pack of hunting dogs. Their weapons were different from the elegant energy beams of the Zephyrians. Missiles streaked through space trailing smoke and fire. Railgun projectiles moved too fast to see, just streaks of metal traveling at incredible speed. The lead Zephyrian cruiser tried to dodge, its graceful hull dancing through space. But the human weapons were designed for a different kind of warfare. The missiles had guidance systems that could track a maneuvering target. The railgun rounds spread out in a pattern that was hard to avoid. The first missile hit the Zephyrian ship's energy shield. The shield held but flickered. The second and third missiles hit in the same spot. The shield failed. The fourth missile punched through the elegant hull and exploded inside. The beautiful Zephyrian cruiser broke apart like a piece of fine glass. Impossible, came the transmission from the Zephyrian commander. His musical voice was higher now, touched with fear. Your weapons are primitive. Primitive but effective, Min-ah replied. The battle continued for 3 hours. The Zephyrian ships were faster and more maneuverable. Their weapons were more advanced. But they had been designed for quick, elegant duels between evenly matched opponents. The human ships were designed for something else entirely. They were built to take damage and keep fighting. Their thick armor absorbed hits that would have destroyed other vessels. When one weapon system was damaged, backup systems came online. When hull plates were blasted away, emergency bulkheads sealed the damage. Slowly, the beautiful Zephyrian ships were ground down by the ugly human ones. Not through superior technology or tactical genius, but through simple, stubborn endurance. Sir, the enemy commander is requesting to speak with you, reported the communications officer. The Zephyrian's face appeared on screen again. His silver skin was now dull with stress, and his elegant uniform was torn. Behind him, his bridge sparked with electrical fires. How? He asked simply. How are your primitive ships defeating us? Min-ah considered her answer. Her own ship had taken heavy damage. Armor plates hung loose from the hull. Several weapon turrets were destroyed. But the engines still worked. The weapons still fired. The crew was still alive. "You build your ships to be beautiful," she said finally. "We build ours to be tough." The transmission ended when a human missile finally penetrated the Zephyrian flagship's elegant hull. When the Battle of Kepler 442 was over, 5 Zephyrian ships had been destroyed, and 7 had been damaged badly enough to retreat. The human squadron had taken heavy damage, but all 5 destroyers were still functional. Across the galaxy, military observers watched the battle recordings with growing interest. The humans weren't supposed to win. Their technology was primitive. Their ships were ugly. Their tactics were simple, but they had won anyway. Dr. Woo Jin Park sat in his laboratory on Luna studying the battle data. He was the chief engineer for the human fleet, responsible for ship design and construction. His gray hair was messy from running his hands through it, and his clothes were rumpled from working long hours. His assistant, Engineer Young Mi Han, brought him coffee and looked over his shoulder at the displays. "The aliens don't understand, do they?" "No," Woo Jin agreed. "They think ugly means inferior. They think primitive means weak." "But we don't build ships to look good," Young Mi said. "We build them to work." "Exactly," Woo Jin pointed at the schematics on his screen. "Look at this Zephyrian cruiser. Beautiful curves, perfect proportions. But where are the redundant systems? Where is the backup power? Where is the armor?" Young Mi studied the alien ship design. "They put everything into making it fast and elegant. But if something goes wrong, the whole ship fails," Woo Jin finished. "One lucky hit and it's over." He pulled up the schematic of a human destroyer. It was not beautiful. The hull was a simple rectangle. Weapon turrets stuck out at practical angles rather than elegant ones. But every vital system had a backup. Every critical component was armored. Every section could be sealed off from the rest. "The Zephyrians build race cars," he said. "Fast, beautiful, perfect for racing around a track under ideal conditions. And we build trucks," Young Mi said, understanding. "Ugly, tough, designed to haul heavy loads over bad roads and keep running when things go wrong." News of the human victory at Kepler 442 spread through the galaxy. The same aliens who had laughed at human ships 6 months earlier now watched the battle recordings with serious expressions. The Valeth High Command issued a statement calling the human victory a statistical anomaly. The Corvin Republic suggested that the Zephyrians must have been using defective equipment. The Thamari simply remained silent. But in the military academies and war colleges of 100 worlds, young officers studied the battle data and asked uncomfortable questions. If the humans could defeat the Zephyrians, what did that say about the rest of the galaxy's assumptions? On Earth, Admiral Park stood in the Fleet Command Center, watching status reports from across human space. More attacks were coming. The Zephyrians were angry now, and they would return in greater numbers. "Sir," said his aide, "the Galactic Council has issued a statement. They're calling